Wars Episode 2 was released in 2002 and is without a doubt the film that I would have the most nostalgia for and the most memory of before this viewing. Hadn't watched it since I was a kid, so I was really excited to get to this one. And this one pretty much blew me away and very much impressed me with kind of me having like an enhanced viewing of it from what I remember. Star Wars Episode 1 really didn't land for me from what I remember and from my memories of it when I watched it, which was really disappointing. But this one held up for better or for worse. I mean, there's things in this that I found ridiculously cheesy in this viewing in comparison to my old, like viewing it as a kid kind of thing. And an adult perspective watching this film is very, very different than a kid's perspective of it. But it is what it is. Basically, story-wise in this one, we mainly follow Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan in their separate stories. It starts off with both of them basically looking after Padme, played by Natalie Portman, and she's doing her whole political thing, and there's a few assassination attempts made on her, including one that was really cool that I also remembered involving like these centipede kind of little bugs crawling into her room, and Anakin taking them out like no problem, but yet not making a mark on her at all. But I liked that. Anyways, because she's having these assassination attempt problems, Anakin is sent to protect her and take her. He's escorting her to a place where nobody can find her, essentially. And Obi-Wan is sent over to the planet Kamino to go investigate this clone army that is being produced by Jango Fett, which ends up being Boba Fett's father from the original trilogy. And all these clones are basically made in using his DNA, essentially. This all leads to them reuniting again at the end of the film, or the climax of the film, on the planet Geonosis, and then we get most of the action in the third act of this film, and most of what I remember and what I loved about this film in its third act. It takes a little bit of time to get to that. This film has a lot of a Blade Runner feel. I've definitely, especially at the beginning of the movie when in the city, in the planet that they start off in, got a lot of Blade Runner vibes with that for sure. At times it also felt a little bit The Fifth Element, especially with all the floating vehicles and flying cars. I love that chase scene where they were hunting down Zam Wesell, which was working for the bounty hunter Jango Fett. And the whole city design and the planet design of that. One of my favorite scenes that I also remember from as a kid was when Obi-Wan and Anakin are at that bar or nightclub or whatever they was, and he's at the bar, and then that alien comes around and he's like, I want to sell you death sticks, and Obi-Wan uses the Force. It's like, you don't want to sell me death sticks. I don't want to sell you death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life. I want to go home and rethink my life. I remember that scene very clearly as a kid, and then when I saw it again, it's like pure nostalgia moment, so I liked that a lot. And yeah, like I said, with the whole flying car chase, that's where it gave me the most like Blade Runner-ish Fifth Element kind of vibes with it. I love the alien Obi-Wan encounters at the diner named Dex. Gotta love that. It's an alien with my name. I love it. And how can I not mention the biggest thing with Anakin? I said in my last review how annoying the kid who played Anakin was in Episode 1. Hayden Christensen, man, again, I think he was directed this way, so I'm not going to point fingers at the actor specifically, but Jesus Christ, man, his acting, it's not even over the top. I don't know what is going on with his performance. I just don't know. There was this like deliverance of cheese when it came to epic blockbuster movies in the 2000s. And most importantly, his creep factor with Padme and all his line deliveries that he said to that girl. It's no friggin' wonder millennials growing up with these movies learned the absolute wrong way to talk to and deal with women because Anakin's a fucking creep. Okay. I'm getting over a cold, so excuse my voice. He is a creep. He's a creepazoid from the planet Cringe, let's just put it that way. And I'm just watching him as my grown up self, and I'm like, dude, these are the movies that we're teaching kids how to speak to girls. This is so bad. This is so backwards. It is so cringe. It's not even funny. But yeah, that's the love story between them, and it's so bad to the point where everything he's saying to her like is making her uncomfortable. And even at a point, he's like staring at her, and she's like, "Please stop staring at me." He's like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because it's making me uncomfortable." And then later in the movie, she falls in love with him, and she confesses her love for him, and it's like I don't even buy it because I don't buy her falling in love with him in any way, shape, or form. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But it happens, and she does, and she's sincere, and she's, like really sincere. There's no like convincing or brainwashing with her. Like she legit falls for him, and they do have. I mean, they spent a lot of time together because he's basically escorting her to another planet, and they're having many dinners together. They have that whole romantic rolling around the grass in that beautiful sunset scene that they had. So they do have a lot of time together to kind of develop those feelings, but with his lack of game, for lack of a better word, I just don't buy it too much. I liked C-3PO's return on this. I liked seeing Watto again. I liked the way they brought back Shmi, Anakin's mother, but it's very sad what happens to her, and I can understand Anakin's rage, even though it's kind of a trigger to his inevitable decline into the dark side. You can understand in that moment his rage, his natural human instinct of rage in that moment. But it's crazy how he just takes out his anger and slaughters an entire tribe, including women and children, which he definitely mentions, and expresses his hatred towards those entire people. And my favorite part of the movie has to be the execution scene. Obviously, it's the one that held in my memory the most. I love Windu, played by Sam Jackson. He's awesome. But those monsters, when they come into the arena and they start to attack everybody, and Padme making her escape up that column, and just the whole way that scene and that entire climax kind of finale played out, leading up to even Dooku's battle with Yoda, which I do have a little bit to say about that. But the arena scene was really cool and cheesy, of course, when Anakin's on that alien monster thing, and then Padme just jumps down and gives him like the cheesiest kiss on the cheek. They go riding off. It's just so stereotypical. But the funny thing about Yoda and Dooku's battle, which is so true, even this is what my dad mentioned actually when I was a kid watching it, and he doesn't like anything sci-fi or like far-fetched or anything like that, and he's like, how does this old little character Yoda, who's like walking around with a cane all the time and barely able to walk or speak, just all of a sudden throw his cane away and just start doing flips all over the place and bouncing off Dooku's shoulders? And it's like he's like this wise old man who is like full of knowledge but can't like defend himself. All of a sudden goes superhuman mode and is like, all of a sudden his bones aren't breaking anymore. It's really true. Like I thought the same thing. I'm like, that's a big switch in Yoda. But it's an amazing battle and it's cool. But it is true how Yoda just flips like that. This film is still plagued, obviously, by like dated CGI and dated effects and stuff like that. Although it's not as bad as Episode 1 was from my memory, it's still there. But the characters do look cool. I like the clone army and the way it looked. It looked badass. The droids, the new droids with like the long faces, they look cool again. One thing I wrote down here too, the sound effects and the sound design that they used in this film is really good. There's unique sounds in this film. One, for example, again going back to the beginning of the movie with that chase scene in the flying cars when they're chasing down Zam Wesell. Just the woos, like the woo with the cars, are sounds that you don't hear in any other sci-fi films. So they really used their imagination in this one with the sound design, and I really appreciated that. Also, in like the asteroid belt or wherever they were, when Jango Fett is chasing down Obi-Wan in his ship, and they're dropping these things called seismic charges, and they make this like boom, like elasticy kind of sound effect that, if you're playing into sci-fi and like using your imagination, is realistic in that sense in what an explosion in space could sound like, even though, I mean, scientifically it probably wouldn't sound like anything, but if it were to in a sci-fi movie, you can really believe that sound. It was really cool. They really did a unique job with the sound design, and a very interesting one, which is very noticeable in a film like this compared to other sci-fi movies. I'll mention another thing about Anakin and his cringeness is when he's whining to Padme in that scene where right before she tells him that he's making her uncomfortable, and he's doing that creepy ass stare. He's just whining and bitching about Obi-Wan, and how he's jealous. He's not the greatest mentor in the world. He's always like, telling me my flaws and all this shit, whatever he was saying, and it's just like he's just constantly whining to the woman he's trying to woo. It's like, stop acting like a bitch, like really, especially in front of a chick that you want to bang. It doesn't work. So let's not do that. But it's an epic, lengthy film. I don't know if it's too long. I wouldn't say it overstays its welcome or anything, but it does drag in the first and second parts of it compared to the third, especially because there's so much in the third act of it. And especially if you're like a younger audience watching, you kind of want to get to the good stuff. So it's kind of it plays out that way. Of course, the political stuff is all over this movie. What's his name? Jar Jar Binks shows up again briefly in this one because of how much he's hated, and that's no secret about it. I looked it up. I didn't know this, but the guy who did the motion capture, and I don't know about the voice, but definitely the motion capture of Jar Jar Binks. He was a black guy, so the fact that people are looking at this as like a racist character or a stereotypical character, it's portrayed by an African American guy, and he's playing a fictional alien character. So what's stereotypical, racist, inappropriate about it? I don't get it, but I don't get any of that shit. It is what it is. Why the actor doing the motion capture was given so much hate and death threats to the point where he thought of taking his life. I have no fucking idea. That's not fan service. That's just insanity service to me. So, anyways, this, like I said, there's the new trilogy. So this second new trilogy, this 2000s trilogy, it's going upwards right now, and I remember loving Revenge of the Sith as well, and I think I remember it taking its epicness even higher, so I should have a really good time with that one. The weakest link, certainly, I'm pretty sure, is going to be episode 1 in this one, but rewatching these is just giving me so much more appreciation for the old 70s and early 80s trilogy, because damn, those were great films, and watching them back to back like this, especially for the first time in a long time, it's just given me so much appreciation for those because of when they came out and how much effort was put into them, and how glorified they are. Like, they're deserving of their praise, even though I'm still quite the casual fan of the whole Saga in general. It's showing me how good those films were, those original ones. So there's a plus in that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Revenge of the Sith lives up to my memory of it. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next Star Wars review and other reviews, take care and have a good one. Cheers.